The October wind tore through downtown Chicago like broken glass. Sophia Martinez clutched her threadbare jacket tighter, paint still crusted under her fingernails from the night before. The canvas bag on her shoulder felt heavier with each step, weighted down by art supplies she'd bought instead of groceries. Inside Café Luna, warmth wrapped around her like a promise. The scent of roasted coffee made her stomach twist with hunger she couldn't afford to acknowledge. She counted crumpled bills at the counter, each one representing a choice. "One small coffee, please." Her voice didn't shake. She'd gotten good at pretending. She turned from the counter, balancing the cup carefully, when her bag swung wide. The collision happened in slow motion. Hot coffee exploded across expensive white fabric and silk. "Oh God, I'm so sorry." Heat flooded her face. She grabbed napkins, dabbing frantically at the spreading stain. "I'm such a disaster. Let me pay for the cleaning, I can." A hand caught her wrist, firm but gentle. She looked up into gray eyes that seemed to see straight through her carefully constructed armor. The man was devastatingly handsome in a way that made her acutely aware of the paint smudge on her cheek and her escaping hair. "It's perfectly fine." His voice was warm, surprisingly genuine. "Really, don't worry about it." Sophia stared at him. "But your shirt, that tie, they look like they cost more than my rent." Something flickered in his expression. Amusement, maybe, or recognition. "I have plenty of shirts." He smiled, and it transformed his face from merely handsome to dangerously appealing. "But I don't often meet someone who cares more about a stranger's clothing than her own coffee." She glanced down at her empty hands. The realization hit her with a dull thud. That's okay. I probably didn't need the caffeine anyway. Before she could escape, he was at the counter, ordering. She watched in confusion as he returned with 2 coffees and a bag of pastries. "I can't accept this." Her pride flared, even as her stomach betrayed her with a quiet growl. "You don't even know me." "Then tell me." He gestured to a table by the window. "I'm Julian." "Sophia." She hesitated, every instinct screaming that people like him didn't do things like this without reason. "But seriously, you don't have to. I'm sure you have important places to be." Julian glanced at his phone. 17 missed calls glared back at him. The board meeting he was supposed to be leading had started 20 minutes ago. For the first time in years, he didn't care. Nothing more important than this. The lie tasted bitter on his tongue because it was partially true. He'd spent 3 months searching for her. The private investigator's report had been thorough. Sophia Martinez, 23, senior at Chicago Art Institute, orphaned, struggling, granddaughter of Elena Martinez, who'd died 6 months ago, who'd hidden a fortune in stolen art in her apartment walls. Art that legally belonged to the Blackwood family. Art that Julian needed to save his collapsing empire before his father's enemies tore it apart. He'd planned this carefully. The accidental meeting, the charm offensive, getting close to her, earning her trust, finding the collection. He hadn't planned on the way she looked when she talked about her paintings. How her whole face transformed with passion and hope. The authenticity in every word. "You're an artist?" He nodded toward the sketchbook in her bag. Her expression shifted. "Came alive. Trying to be. Final year at the Art Institute. If I can figure out how to keep paying for it." Something twisted in his chest. Guilt, maybe? He pushed it down. "What kind of art do you create?" She talked for an hour, about color and light and the way paint felt under her hands, about wanting to capture the beauty in broken things, about dreams that seemed impossible but felt essential. Julian listened, asked questions, and felt the carefully constructed walls around his heart develop their first cracks in a decade. "I should go." Sophia finally noticed the empty cafe. "I have class and you definitely have business things." Julian realized he knew almost nothing concrete about her. Yet he felt more connected to her than anyone in years. "Can I see you again? Dinner, maybe?" Uncertainty crossed her face. "I don't think we travel in the same circles." "Good." The word came out rougher than he intended. "I could use a change of scenery." She smiled then. Small and hesitant, but real. "Okay." As she gathered her things and walked away, Julian's phone buzzed. A text from his private investigator, confirmed. "The collection is in the grandmother's apartment, 847 West Monroe, Unit 4B. She still has the keys. Move fast. Your father's creditors are circling. Julian watched Sophia disappear into the crowd, his hand trembling slightly. He'd just met the woman who could save everything he'd worked for, or destroy what was left of his soul. 3 weeks later, Sophia stood in her grandmother's apartment for the first time since the funeral. Dust motes swirled in the afternoon light, streaming through yellowed curtains. Everything looked smaller than she remembered. Sadder. You don't have to do this alone. Emma, her best friend, squeezed her shoulder. I can stay. No, it's okay. Sophia forced a smile. I need to do this. Besides, Julian's coming by later to help. Emma raised an eyebrow. The mysterious coffee guy who's been taking you to fancy dinners. When do I get to meet Prince Charming? He's not a prince. He's just nice. The word felt inadequate for what Julian had become to her. 3 weeks of conversations that stretched into dawn. Of him listening to her dreams like they mattered. Of touches that lingered just a moment too long. After Emma left, Sophia began sorting through decades of accumulated memories. Her grandmother had been a housekeeper for wealthy families, and the apartment held remnants of a life spent in service to others. She was in the bedroom, folding clothes that still smelled faintly of lavender, when her hand brushed against something odd behind the headboard. A seam in the wallpaper. Deliberate. Her heart kicked against her ribs as she peeled back the paper. Behind it, a hidden panel. Behind that, wrapped in protective cloth, paintings. Old paintings with signatures she recognized from art history classes. Oh, abuela. The words came out strangled. What did you do? Her phone rang. Julian's name lit up the screen. Hey, I'm downstairs. Should I come up? She stared at the paintings, her world tilting. Yeah, I need you. When Julian entered the apartment 5 minutes later, Sophia was sitting on the floor, surrounded by unwrapped canvases. 7 of them, each worth a fortune. Sophia? He stopped in the doorway, his expression carefully neutral. What's wrong? My grandmother was a thief. The words tasted like ash. These paintings. They're real. They're stolen. Julian, what am I supposed to do? He knelt beside her and his hands were steady when they took hers. His heart was racing so hard he thought she might hear it. This was it. The moment he'd orchestrated. The collection he needed. All he had to do was tell her the truth. That these belonged to his family. That his father had been investigating their disappearance for years before his death. That returning them would save the Blackwood Empire. But looking at her face, streaked with tears, he couldn't speak. Hey, his voice was soft. You didn't steal anything. Whatever your grandmother did, that's not on you. But these belong to someone. Some family is missing these. They probably think they're lost forever. She looked up at him, eyes desperate for guidance. I have to return them, right? That's the right thing? That's very noble. The words felt like broken glass in his throat. But Sophia, these are worth millions. If you turn them in, you get nothing. You could sell one piece and never worry about tuition again. About rent. About anything. She pulled back, studying his face. You think I should keep them? I think you should consider your options before making any decisions. He was walking a razor's edge between manipulation and protection. Let me help you figure this out. I know people who can authenticate them discreetly, then you can decide. She nodded slowly, trusting him. It made him feel sick. Okay, but Julian? She gripped his hand tighter. Promise me you won't tell anyone about this. Not yet. I need to think. I promise. The lie sat heavy on his tongue. That night, alone in his penthouse, Julian poured himself scotch with shaking hands. His phone sat on the granite counter, his lawyer's number ready to dial. One call and the paintings would be authenticated, claimed, returned to the Blackwood estate. His father's creditors would be satisfied. The company would be saved. All he had to do was betray the first person in years who'd made him feel human. His phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. Thank you for being there today. I don't know what I'd do without you. Another text followed. I think I'm falling for you. Is that crazy? Julian stared at the words until they blurred. Then he made a choice that surprised even himself. He deleted his lawyer's number and texted back. Not crazy. I'm falling too. For the first time in 3 weeks, the message wasn't part of the plan. But across town, in a sleek office with a view of the lake, Someone else was watching. Someone who'd been tracking Julian Blackwood's movements with great interest. Marcus Chen, his father's former business partner, now his biggest enemy, smiled as he reviewed the surveillance photos his investigator had compiled. Julian with the Martinez girl. Julian entering her grandmother's building. Marcus had been searching for the Martinez collection too, and now Julian had led him right to it. He picked up his phone and made a call. "I have a proposition for Miss Martinez, one she won't be able to refuse." The gallery opening was everything Sophia had dreamed of. White walls, soft lighting, her paintings displayed like they mattered. Julian had arranged it all, called in favors she didn't understand, made her art student dreams real in a matter of weeks. She stood in a borrowed dress, watching wealthy strangers admire her work, and felt like she was living someone else's life. "You look terrified." Julian appeared at her elbow with champagne. In his tailored suit, he belonged here in a way she never would. "Relax. They love your work. They love that you told them to love it." But she was smiling. "I still can't believe you did this. I believe in you." His hand found the small of her back, familiar now, possessive. "I wanted everyone else to see what I see." A waiter approached with a business card on a silver tray. "For Miss Martinez." The gentleman said it's urgent. Sophia glanced at the card. "Marcus Chen, Chen Enterprises." The name meant nothing to her. "Do you know him?" she asked Julian. His face went carefully blank. "Yeah, he's no one you want to meet." "Ignore it." But something in his tone made her look across the gallery. A man in an expensive suit raised his glass to her. Smiled. She smiled back uncertainly. "Sophia, don't." Julian's grip on her arm tightened. "Seriously, stay away from him. Why? Who is he?" "Someone from my past. Someone who destroys things." His voice was harder than she'd ever heard it. "Promise me you'll stay away," she promised. But the card burned in her clutch all night. 2 days later, Marcus Chen showed up at her grandmother's apartment. Sophia opened the door to find a stranger in a 3-piece suit, smiling like they were old friends. Behind him, 2 men in dark glasses stood silent guard. "Miss Martinez, I apologize for the intrusion. I'm Marcus Chen." His accent was cultured, his manner impeccable. "I have information about your grandmother's paintings. May I come in?" Every instinct screamed danger, but curiosity won. "How do you know about those?" "Because 30 years ago, they were stolen from my family's estate in Hong Kong. Not the Blackwoods, as Julian has no doubt claimed. Mine." He handed her a folder. "Provenance documents, police reports, photos of my grandmother standing beside each piece before they disappeared." Sophia's hands trembled as she opened the folder. The documents looked legitimate. "But so did everything about Marcus Chen. I don't understand." Julian said whatever served his purpose. Marcus's voice was gentle, almost sympathetic. "Let me guess. He appeared in your life right after you found the paintings, swept you off your feet, promised to help you, made you fall in love with him." Her silence was answer enough. "He's been using you, Miss Martinez. The paintings are worth $40 million. He needs them to save his failing company. He's been playing you from the beginning." "You're lying." But the words had no force behind them. "Am I?" "Call him right now. Ask him about his father's debt, about the Blackwood bankruptcy proceedings, about the private investigator he hired to track you down 3 months ago." Sophia's phone felt like lead in her hand as she dialed. Julian answered on the first ring. "Hey, beautiful. Miss me already? Tell me the truth." Her voice cracked. "Did you know about the paintings before we met?" The pause was half a second too long. "Sophia, where are you?" "Are you at the apartment?" "I'm coming over." "Just answer the question, Julian. Yes or no?" "It's not that simple. Yes or no?" She was screaming now, tears streaming down her face. "Yes." The word was barely audible. "Yes, I knew." "But Sophia, listen to me. What started as a plan became real. I fell in love with you. That wasn't fake. None of it was fake." She ended the call, hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped the phone. Marcus Chen watched her with something that might have been pity. "I'm sorry you had to learn this way, but I'm prepared to make you an offer. Return the paintings to me, their rightful owner, and I'll pay you $5 million. Cash, tomorrow. You never have to see Julian Blackwood again." $5 million? She could barely process the number. "Why would you pay me anything?" "Because unlike Julian, I believe in doing things properly. Those paintings matter to my family. You matter to yours. This way everyone wins." He placed a contract on the table. Except Julian, of course. But then, he should have thought about that before he broke your heart. Sophia stared at the contract, at the paintings propped against the wall, at the life she thought she'd been building crumbling around her. "I need time to think." "Of course. You have until tomorrow night." Marcus handed her a card. "But Miss Martinez?" "Julian will come here. He'll beg. He'll say anything to manipulate you one more time. Don't let him. You deserve better than to be someone's means to an end." After he left, Sophia sat in the empty apartment. Surrounded by stolen art and shattered illusions, her phone wouldn't stop ringing. "Julian." Again and again. "Finally," she answered. "Please." His voice was raw. "Let me explain. Face to face. You owe me that much." "I don't owe you anything." But even now, part of her wanted to believe him. "You used me." "I did, at first. But Sophia, I swear everything changed. I love you. I'm in love with you. The gallery, that was real. My feelings, they're real. How am I supposed to believe anything you say? You've been lying since the moment we met. I know, and I hate myself for it. But I'm telling the truth now. Marcus Chen is dangerous. He's lying about those paintings being his. They belong to my family. My father spent years trying to find them before he died. They're my legacy. But so are you." His voice broke. "Don't do this. Don't let him win." Sophia closed her eyes. "I don't even know who you are." "Yes, you do. You're the only person who's ever really seen me. Please. I'm coming over. Don't make any decisions until we talk." She hung up and turned off her phone. Then she picked up Marcus Chen's contract and started reading. An hour later, Julian broke down her door to find the apartment empty. The paintings gone, and a note on the table in Sophia's handwriting. "You taught me something important. Everyone has a price, even me. Don't try to find me." He sank to the floor, the note crumpling in his fist, and for the first time since his father's death, Julian Blackwood started to cry. 3 months later, Sophia Martinez no longer existed. She went by Sarah Martin now, living in a studio apartment in Brooklyn with $5 million she couldn't touch. Blood money, guilt money, money that reminded her every day of the man she'd loved and betrayed. Because that's what she'd done. She'd taken Marcus Chen's offer, signed over the paintings, and disappeared. And spent every night since wondering if she'd made the right choice. The coffee shop where she worked smelled like burnt espresso and regret. She pulled shots for strangers and pretended not to check the news obsessively for any mention of Julian Blackwood. Today she found it. Blackwood Enterprises files for bankruptcy. CEO Julian Blackwood faces criminal investigation for fraud. Her hands shook as she read. The company had collapsed. Julian was being accused of embezzling funds, falsifying documents. Marcus Chen had bought up the debts and was systematically destroying everything Julian had left. "Hey, Sarah." Her manager appeared behind her. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I need to make a call." She didn't wait for permission, just walked outside into the cold November air and dialed the number she'd memorized but never used. Julian answered on the 4th ring. His voice was hollow. "Hello? It's me." Silence. Then rough with emotion. "Sophia, I saw the news. Is it true?" "Which part? That I'm broke? That I'm facing prison? That the woman I love destroyed me and disappeared?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Yeah, it's all true." "Julian, why are you calling? To gloat? To make sure I'm suffering enough? The paintings." She pressed her hand against the brick wall, needing something solid. "Marcus Chen said they were his. That you were lying, he lied. They were my family's. Stolen from our estate 30 years ago by your grandmother when she worked for us. My father died trying to find them." His voice cracked. "But it doesn't matter now. He won. You won. I lost everything. I didn't know." The words felt pathetically inadequate. "Julian, I didn't know he was lying. Would it have changed anything? I still lied to you first. I still used you." He sighed, and she heard movement like he was sitting down. "You had every right to walk away. To choose yourself. I don't blame you for that. Where are you? Does it matter? Tell me." He gave her an address. "An apartment in Chicago. Nothing like the penthouse she remembered. But Sophia, don't come here trying to save me. I'm not your responsibility. I never was. She ended the call and stared at her phone. $5 million sat in a bank account she hadn't touched. Money that came from lies, from a man who'd orchestrated Julian's destruction. Money that could save him, or she could keep it. Start over. Build the life she'd always wanted. She didn't owe Julian Blackwood anything, except her heart still beat his name. 2 days later, Sophia walked into Marcus Chen's office without an appointment. His secretary tried to stop her, but she pushed past into the sleek room overlooking the Chicago skyline. Marcus looked up from his desk, surprise flickering across his polished features. Miss Martinez, this is unexpected. The paintings weren't yours. She stood in front of his desk, back straight. They belonged to the Blackwoods. You lied to me. I made you a very wealthy woman. Does it matter where the paintings came from? Yes. Her voice didn't shake. It matters because you used me to destroy someone. Just like he used me to find them, except I didn't know I was being used. Marcus leaned back in his chair, amused. What do you want? To give back the money? Somehow I doubt that. I want to make a deal. She pulled papers from her bag. Transfer documents. I give you back the $5 million plus interest. You drop the charges against Julian and return the paintings to him. And why would I do that? Because if you don't, I go to every news outlet and tell them exactly how you acquired the paintings. That they're stolen property, that you knowingly bought stolen art. Your reputation would be destroyed, your business dealings investigated. You'd lose everything you took from Julian. Marcus's smile faded. You're bluffing. Try me. She met his gaze steadily. I have nothing left to lose. You took my money. Julian took my trust. I'm done being anyone's pawn. So here's what's going to happen. You take the money. You give back the paintings. You leave Julian alone. Or I burn your entire empire down. For a long moment, Marcus studied her. Then he laughed. A genuine sound of surprise. You really love him. That's not your business. No, but it's unfortunate. Because you're about to give up $5 million for a man who admitted he used you. He pressed the intercom. Collins, bring me the Chen acquisition files. Sophia's heart hammered. Is that a yes? It's curiosity. Let's see if you're really willing to sacrifice everything for someone who lied to you from the beginning. He pulled out a contract. Sign here. The money transfers back to me. But Miss Martinez, if I do this, you get nothing. Not even a thank you from Julian. Men like us don't know how to appreciate sacrifices. We only know how to use them. I'm not doing it for him to appreciate me. She picked up the pen. I'm doing it because it's right. Because I should have done it months ago. She signed her name. Sarah Martinez. Her real name. Marcus watched her with something that might have been respect. You're either very noble or very stupid. Maybe both. She stood. Do we have a deal? We have a deal. He extended his hand. The paintings will be returned to Blackwood Enterprises by end of day. The charges drop by morning, though I doubt there's much of a company left to save. That's his problem now, not mine. But her hand shook as she left his office, $5 million lighter and somehow both empty and free. She didn't go to Julian's apartment. Didn't call to tell him what she'd done. Instead, she went back to Brooklyn and started packing. Her phone rang that night. Julian. The charges were dropped. His voice was stunned. The paintings are back. Marcus Chen's lawyer showed up this afternoon with everything. Sophia, what did you do? What I should have done from the beginning. She zipped up her suitcase. I returned what wasn't mine. The money. You gave it back. Yes. Why? He sounded wrecked. Sophia, that was your future. Your education. Everything you needed. I needed to look at myself in the mirror more. She closed her eyes. Julian, I have to go. Wait, please, where are you? Let me see you. Let me thank you, let me. Goodbye, Julian. She hung up and turned off her phone. Then Sophia Martinez walked out of her apartment into the cold night and disappeared again. But this time, she was running toward something instead of away. 1 year later, Paris. Sophia stood in front of her painting in the Galerie Montparnasse, overwhelmed by the impossible reality of it. Her work, in Paris, in an actual gallery showing emerging artists. She'd spent the year rebuilding herself from scratch, working 3 jobs, living in a closet-sized apartment, painting until her hands cramped. No shortcuts, no men with secret agendas. Just her and the art and the slow, painful work of becoming someone she could respect. The gallery owner, Madame Rousseau, appeared at her elbow. Magnifique, non? You should be very proud, ma chérie. I am. And she meant it. This success was hers alone. There is someone who wishes to speak with you. A collector, very interested in your work. Madame Rousseau gestured across the gallery. He says you know each other. Sophia's breath caught. Julian Blackwood stood by the window, backlit by afternoon sun, looking both familiar and changed. Thinner, older, like he'd been through his own kind of rebuilding. She forced herself to walk over, each step an act of will. Hello, Sophia. Julian, his name still hurt to say. What are you doing here? Your friend Emma might have mentioned where you were. He smiled slightly. I've been following your career. You're talented. You always were. Thank you. She kept her voice neutral, professional. Is that why you're here? To buy a painting? I'm here because I owe you something. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. The company sold last month. For more than I expected. This is your share. She stared at the envelope. My share? You saved Blackwood Enterprises. Without those paintings, there would have been nothing to sell. You gave up $5 million to make it possible. This is $5 million back, plus interest, plus a percentage of the sale. He set the envelope on the windowsill between them. It's what you're owed. Sophia didn't touch it. I don't want your money, Julian. It's not mine. It's yours. You earned it. He looked at her directly, and she saw the weight of the past year in his eyes. I know you probably hate me. You should. But I need you to understand something. What I did to you was unforgivable. I used you, manipulated you, broke your heart. But Sophia, falling in love with you was the realest thing I've ever done. Don't. She wrapped her arms around herself. Don't do this. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. His voice was steady but raw. I just need you to know that losing you destroyed me worse than losing the company ever could. And what you did, giving back that money, saving me when you had every reason to let me burn, that changed me, made me want to be someone worthy of that sacrifice. And are you worthy? She finally looked at him fully. Did you become a better person, Julian Blackwood? I'm trying. He stepped closer, and she could smell his cologne, could see the new lines around his eyes. Every day I try. I sold the company and started a foundation for art students who can't afford tuition. I've helped 17 kids so far. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. But it's something. Tears burned her eyes. Why are you really here? Because I love you. Simple. Devastating. Because I have for a year and a half. Because I probably will for the rest of my life. And because you deserve to know that. He turned to leave. The money is yours. Take it, invest it, burn it. Whatever helps you move forward. I just wanted you to have the choice. Julian, wait. He stopped. Sophia picked up the envelope, held it for a moment, then held it out to him. Put it in the foundation. Help more students. That's what I choose. Something flickered in his expression. Hope, maybe. You're sure? I spent a year learning to build something real. Without shortcuts, without compromises. She stepped closer. That money came from pain and lies. I don't want it. But I do want to know something. Anything. If you could go back to that day in the coffee shop, knowing everything that would happen, all the pain, all the loss, would you still approach me? Julian didn't hesitate. Yes, because knowing you, loving you, even for a little while, was worth everything I lost. That's what I needed to hear. She reached up and touched his face, feeling him lean into her palm like a man starved for contact. I don't forgive you, Julian. Not completely. Maybe not ever. What you did can't be erased. I know. His voice was hoarse. But I understand it. The desperation, the fear, the impossible choices between loyalty and love. She let her hand drop. I made those same choices. Took Marcus's deal, ran away. We're both broken people who broke each other. So where does that leave us? Julian's gray eyes searched hers, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. I don't know. She was honest because they'd had enough lies. I spent a year learning to stand on my own. I'm not ready to lean on anyone else yet. I can wait. He said it simply, like a promise. However long it takes, I'll be here, building something worthy of you, becoming someone who deserves a second chance. What if that day never comes? Then I'll have spent my life trying to be a better man. That's not a bad way to live. He smiled, sad but genuine. Your art is beautiful, by the way. The exhibit. I can see your growth in every brushstroke. Thank you. She glanced at her paintings on the walls. They're about redemption, about finding beauty in broken things. Like us? Maybe, she took a breath. There's a café across the street. They have terrible coffee. If you want to stay, to talk, just talk. I'll be there in an hour. After the exhibit, hope transformed his face. I'll be there. Julian. She stopped him one more time. This isn't a promise. It's not forgiveness. It's just coffee. Coffee is how we started. He headed for the door. Maybe it's the right place to begin again. After he left, Sophia stood alone in the gallery, surrounded by paintings she'd created from pain and growth and impossible choices. Madame Rousseau approached with champagne. The mysterious collector, he will buy something, yes? I don't know. Sophia accepted the glass. Maybe. Eventually. She thought about the envelope of money that would help other struggling artists. About Julian's foundation built from the ruins of his empire. About second chances and whether people who'd hurt each other could ever truly heal. An hour later, she walked into the café. Julian sat at a corner table, 2 cups of terrible coffee already cooling in front of him. When he saw her, he stood, uncertain, hopeful. Sophia crossed the room and sat down across from him. Hi, she said. Hi. His smile was tentative. So. She picked up the coffee cup, its warmth grounding her. Tell me about the foundation. I want to hear everything. And as rain began to fall on Paris streets outside, 2 broken people sat in a café with terrible coffee and started the long, uncertain work of seeing if love could survive its own wreckage. They didn't kiss, didn't make promises they couldn't keep, didn't pretend the past could be erased. But they talked about art and redemption and the possibility of becoming better than their worst moments, about whether second chances were earned or given, about building something real from the ashes of something false. When Sophia finally stood to leave, hours later, Julian walked her to the door. Can I see you again? He asked. Tomorrow, maybe? She thought about it. Really thought. About the year she'd spent becoming whole, about the man he claimed to be now, about whether some broken things were worth trying to repair. Tomorrow, she agreed. Same terrible cafe, same terrible coffee. It's a date. Then he hesitated. Or not a date. Whatever you want it to be. Let's call it possibility. She stepped out into the rain. That's all I can promise right now. Possibility is enough. Julian watched her walk away, and this time, he didn't feel like he was losing her. It's more than enough. Sophia disappeared into the Paris evening, and for the first time in a year and a half, she wasn't running from anything. She was walking toward something uncertain and complicated and maybe, possibly, worth the risk. Some love stories end with a kiss. Some end with goodbye. This one ended with coffee and rain, and the fragile hope that sometimes broken people could heal each other instead of shattering. Not through grand gestures or perfect apologies, but through the slow, painful, beautiful work of trying. One terrible cup of coffee at a time. The end.